Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Academy Futurae. Say hi, everyone!
Hi.
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 Alright.
Hello.
Hello to you too, everyone. When we last left off, after Crudez in particular finished up his own, roleplay at the, end of the test feast, he, as well as Argo, attempted to have conversation with Lagurma, who was the person that basically recruited them to the academy in the first place. It went as well as you would expect, but suffice to say, she did seem to want to see the world, in quotation marks. Suffice to say, you didn't exactly break her out of, well, her constant mood. But she does seem to at least appreciate you. But then, the morning came afterwards, to which a very enthusiastic Cedric went ahead and woke you guys up, because they had found Alice. Or at least that's what the headmaster had told him, and he tried to get you guys to get up and go to the headmaster's office. And so, when you did, Carol explained that they managed to trace her location within a certain radius, which turned out to be a region in southeastern Kasharin by the name of Alzara. However, they didn't exactly trace down her pinpoint location yet, and so to pass the time, Carol had decided to assign you a mission while you wait for the real mission. And that mission was to help out a old school adventurers guild prior to the academy being built anyway, which also doubled as a hotel ran by a guy named Hyatt. And so he decided to give you this mission, as well as give you a letter to give to him eventually, as sort of like an invitation to help basically recruit more efficiently. So, the interesting thing about the job listing is that it didn't really go too much into detail, other than you are hunting down something, but it did mention you are allowed to bring 2 extra people with you, and you had decided to bring Lysander, the house leader from Farenthel, who is a ranger, as well as Lagurma after managing to convince her to come, although it did take quite a bit. So eventually, you all headed on out to Kasharan to see sperm whales do their thing, blow holes and all that. And eventually, you landed at a port city on the coast of Alzara. Unfortunately, it would take about a day's travel to get to the villa proper, but right as you got that information, you got a surprise visit from Teldra, of all people. All the way back from your mission in Drac, splunking in temples of death gods. Sorry, taking a drink of water there. And Teldra seemed to have nothing but praise for Mr. Hyatt, as he had just gotten done finishing off an expedition that Hyatt personally funded and was successful. And in fact, a lot of people in the surrounding area seem to have nothing but great things to say about Hyatt. Unfortunately, the travel over to the villa was a bit rough because, well, the winds kind of picked up, and unfortunately for Nimbus, he kind of inhaled a bit of sand. But when you did arrive at the villa proper, it was actually more of a little village surrounding the villa proper. When you finally did go up to the villa, knocked on the front door, you were met by a rotund but very jolly-looking Earth Genasi, who immediately noticed Nimbus inhaled some sand and basically rubbed his chest to make him feel better, which you guys accurately managed to figure out that it was paladin magic at work, specifically an Oath of Redemption paladin, and he basically absorbed his pain, so to speak.
It is okay. It is just like my father used to make. He's bad at cooking. I'm making a joke that his cooking is like Santa.
Well, after making sure you were all right, making sure everybody else was all right, he actually seemed very, very empathetic. Almost kind of like a mom. After that initial bit, he actually introduced himself as Hayat, and that you are now welcome to his villa. And that's where we pick. With that, we go here.
I am going to have sex with this man.
Go ahead and please place your tokens on near the bottom there. Yeah, where the ping is. Basically, where Lagurma and the NPC that is supposed to be Lysander is there.
I'm working on it.
You're fine.
Yeah.
No rush. You have enough shit to work on as is.
So for those wondering, obviously, this is going to be pretty much an all RP session. I know we had quite a lot of those in a row, but I promise next session will be very much combat and exploration based. So, just getting that out of the way. So anyway, as Haya is leading you inside, the first thing you see is this giant main hall that is just carpeted from point A to point B all the way, which is about, let me get my ruler out. Well, at ballpark guess, about 200 feet. It is this singular, luxurious-looking red carpet covering the whole floor. There are displays in the main hall, almost kind of like a museum in of itself. And these displays encase old weapons, shields, even a few trinkets here and there. And all the while, Hayat is still sort of like, he's kind of trying to give you the tour, but at the same time, he also is basically trying to catch if you guys show any sort of, like, weakness or sickness. Like, he seems to be ready on standby, so to speak.
Can I roll, I guess, this is, it's gonna be architectural, so I guess history to see how, I guess, old the building is?
Sure. 21. So it's so with that 21, it's interesting. You can tell half of this villa is old, quote unquote, but there is a lot of newer stuff added to it. Like, quite recently.
So it's an old palace that's been souped up, like, recently.
Your assumption, yes.
Yeah, because this place is fucking massive.
Yes.
It's got a whole, like, foyer dedicated to just this giant fucking ass carpet, like, holy shit.
Hayat actually explains, that is just to make the trip over towards the hotel rooms in the north look much more appealing. And as he says that, as he's, like, pointing towards the front door, off to the north anyway, you can actually see at one of these display cases. Oh yeah, and also, this guy is extremely fucking wealthy. But anyway, you can actually see, near the middle of this hall, in one of these display cases, there's actually a gnome in the middle of wiping down the glass for one of these display cases, and the case itself is holding a set of scale-plated armor, but really only the top half part. And I just, oh, perfect, come with me. And he actually brings you all towards, this gnome. And she sees him and kind of extends her arms out, to which Hayat sort of, like, helps her off the stepladder and actually kind of gives her a hug along the way down. She doesn't seem to object. Ah, perfect. I was just about to, give these kids a tour of the place. And she actually sort of, like, nods her head and goes, "Hi, I'm just one of the caretakers here. My name's Nibla. How are you all doing?"
I'm doing fine. Traylon says that he kind of shakes a little bit more sand out of his pants.
Hayat will remember this. But not because you, got sand on the carpet.
Just because
and
he's moving his pants. What a perv.
Roll... What would... I'm trying to think. What would be a roll for recognizing a very specific ethnicity? Like,
I guess
nature?
insight.
History?
Or history, either or. I'll say either or.
Yeah, I'll go with history then.
Alright, 25.
22 actually.
22, okay. Well, either way, that works. Traylon.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen women like her before. Which is something that should feel obvious because you live in a majority dwarven village, so any gnomes that you do see kind of just stick out.
Mm-hmm.
You get the impression that this kind of girl would have come from, if not your area of Radiara, but somewhere similar to that on the other side of the border to Cicello.
So a rock now.
Yes, essentially. You sure? I was almost done walking. Oh, no, you're fine. We're going to all have dinner anyway, and I'd rather you be there to enjoy it. You've kind of been skipping out a few of the public dinners, and I'd rather you not overwork yourself. And she sort of just shakes her head but smiles, and he goes, "You worry too much." "Oh, but it is my job." She, and as they're doing that, she's actually in the middle of taking down the stepladder, just, fine, you win.
Traylon will remember this.
So, what were you planning on doing with them? Oh, just giving them a tour of the place. They're actually the adventurers that I've hired. But as part of the perk of my job listing, I've decided to give them free housing, so I'd rather them know how this house of ours works. Fair enough. Are you gonna tell them about this too? And she sort of, like, points to the armor on the shelf, and he goes, I think we should probably save that for, well, I think there's more important things that we'd be showing them than just something as, well, boring as this.
Traylon will also remember this. Armor.
Nimbus will also remember this.
Roll an investigation check as you guys look at the display cases.
Natural 1.
Natural 1. Okay. Anybody else can roll on this.
I'm gonna roll.
Investigation.
Oh,
10.
never mind, I suck at this shit.
I rolled lower and oh my god.
Wow, 2 nat 1s.
And I
Alright.
still rolled the highest out of all of us.
God.
I know, right?
It's almost like you're the smart one.
Yeah.
I will say with the flat 10, Crudez, these displays sort of... The displays are, you know, talk about it a little bit, but it isn't really descriptive. But you do notice that the date on it mentions that this display case in particular was erected about 2 years ago.
It was erected, you say?
Now go along. Go in the kitchen. I'd rather you get in the sights and smells before you dig in later. And she sort of just like goes, yes, Dad. And Hyatt just laughs abruptly. It's like, again with that? No, I just want you to enjoy yourselves working here. Uh-huh, sure, whatever. And she just sort of just heads off with the stepladder, but just like winking at Hyatt, to which he's still having a giggle fit about it.
This is definitely not what I expected when I came here, but that is not a bad thing.
Yeah, you get like all sorts of like wholesome vibes from this guy. Well, and he's sort of like, well, sorry about that distraction, but I figure you might as well meet the regulars. But back to business, and he actually points to his right over there. Hold on one sec, there we go. This over here is my office, but we don't really have to talk about business right now. We can save that for the morning after, when you've had a whole night of rest under your belt.
Very.
We are a hotel. It is what we do.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah.
You have got me there.
But since we're already looking on the right, let's go here. And he points off to the far right corner of this hall, which is right next to this set of doors, which he said which is where the rooms are. When he brings you over to here, you actually notice there's 2 different doors. One that's blue and then one that's pink, and he goes, my apologies, I almost forgot. We actually have 1 miss in your group here. I'm sorry, but for decency purposes, you'll have to go in through here, but the rest can follow with me. Don't worry, we'll end up on the same place. And you see Lagurma just sort of like... Crudez, you've seen that kind of look. She doesn't seem to care either way.
Oh.
So, he goes ahead and... Hold on one sec. Goes ahead and takes you minus Lagurma through the blue door. And you actually see, lined along the walls are showers and lockers. Thankfully, nobody is inside. Yes, we've closed for the night, but I might as well you see this for your own eyes. And when you turn the corner, you see a pool.
Whoa.
I can't. I'm. I'm sorry. Nimbus just sees. Is it like in the middle of the room? Is it just
Oh yeah, this
holding
also
something up?
this is like an outdoor pool. Like when you get to like here and here, you actually like you actually see a door leading to the outside. So this is actually an outdoor pool.
Oh, it's a pool. I thought you said pole.
No,
Okay, I was thinking
It's an
something
outdoor
very
pool.
different. Okay.
Get your head out of the gutter.
Don't tell me what to do.
Oh, a pool. Nice.
I figured you would all get a kick out of this.
Since we're in a desert, this is pretty much an oasis right here.
Heck yeah.
You could say that again.
Well, I've been trying to get oases set up for a while, but I'll save that for morning. But in the meantime, yes, you may enjoy this to your heart's content, but, well, right now it's closed. But I figure I might as well show you this before you all turn in for the night.
Alright, I do have to ask, because I know for a fact that this may be an issue, so we're asking it right now while everyone is in present. Shit, my brain went blank. Dress code. What's the dress code for the pool?
No worries. He goes, "Oh, I don't need to say it. This tells it for me." And he goes ahead and points to a sign on the wall that has, pretty basic rules. It's like no skinny dipping, no, the usual stuff.
Be courteous and don't be rude. Don't
Yeah,
be
exactly.
that guy who goes into a public pool.
Yeah, shower before you get in so that there's no sand in the pool. The usual stuff.
Curtis sees no skinny dipping. He's like, "Oh, then what's the point?" Not really though.
That's-
Just the awe part.
The same point for why you wear clothes in the first place, you dryad.
What?
I have a feeling a few of you are quite savvy with water. I've seen plenty of people see this pool before, and they look at it as if they were a yak with yak and headlights. They don't know what to do with them. Oh, it's something I learned from an Iron Dome resident at one point.
It is an expression.
Also, add a character. Nice catch, by the way. Sorry.
Yes, I've seen people who have never seen something like this before, to the point where they don't really know what to do with themselves. Some don't even jump in. They just watch.
I
Just
suppose.
watch.
I mean, when you live in a desert, it's a large body of waters that come few and far between.
Oh, don't remind me. I also had to put that rule in there, and he points to a rule at the very bottom that says no drinking from the pool, and in parentheses it says plenty of drinks in the communal area.
If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were experienced in quenching a man's thirst. Not yet.
A little.
So did that just go completely over his head, or is he catching on to Nimbus?
I don't know.
Can I-
I don't
can
know.
I-
Roll an insight.
I want to
If-
insight that, please.
If
Like, that was brazen and blatant.
I was about to say, if this were Lobos and I was playing Kavik right now, I would have just had him point.
You would have
right
been the
at
one
Nimbus and
saying
go, "Roll charisma right
Um,
now. Do it."
I'll say with the 16 and the 17, he knows what you're doing, Nimbus, and he is more than okay with it.
Yes.
I
Wait, inside
digress.
it's like-
Mhm.
It's just on the inside, he's like, finally, somebody that can play along instead of being eager to throw a bucket of water over me.
Trellin has
I
a
don't-
squirt bottle ready.
We're in the desert though, dude. Don't you want to get wet?
You told me you were keeping that at home. You blackguard.
Am I? I'm sorry. Am I interrupting something?
Nah, dude.
Don't worry about it.
We're just a bunch of jokesters. It's cool.
Ah, yes, youth. I know how it feels. I still feel young at heart myself. But I digress. And he goes ahead and takes you out through the same lockers that you went through, because there isn't really a door to, like, the sides. And he doesn't bring you in, but he points over in the direction, directly left here. And inside, it's kind of a smaller room, so to speak, but there's actually sort of like training equipment imported directly from Iron Dome. This here was kind of a last-minute addition. Quite recent, in fact. I heard stories from some of the Iron Dome residents that this was quite normal for hotels back where they're from, and I wouldn't be a worldly man if I didn't want to accommodate for everyone. And you can actually see sort of like the usual stuff. You see sort of like this inclined platform with gears and chains sticking out from the sides that look like they can like rotate at a moment's notice, but for what you're not exactly sure. You also see kind of a, you think it's a bench, but there's no like backrest to it. And then along this bench, quote unquote, is this giant slab of iron with a bunch of concrete slabs with numbers engraved into them off to the sides. Oh, you know, the usual. But...
Looks like a good place to work up a sweat.
Oh, you know how this works, then?
I know the principle of it. Not too many people actually put this into use, considering most people just use normal manual labor to keep in shape.
Well, this is also an adventurer's guild, yes. But I figured I might as well give them the option. Sadly, nobody uses this as much, but on the plus side, that means there hasn't been any real wear and tear to this equipment.
If it weren't for the fact that you take such a good care of your visitors here, I would question why people would feel the need to work out in the first place in a biome like this. But this is me being biased. I have too much fur for this nonsense.
Yes, sometimes I forget that not everyone has, well, hard flesh. Or flesh for that to begin with. But enough about usage. Come. I have my second favorite room to show you. And
you insist.
he just nods and smiles at you, and he brings you over to the bottom left corner over here. If that will please reveal. Okay, why is it stuck being yellow?
Roll 20, stop being slow.
And it didn't even reveal it after all that. Yes, okay, there we go.
Slow.
So-
There we go.
Okay, so, eventually you were brought to the other giant room in the bottom left corner, which is actually somewhat of a real spacious living room area. And you can also tell it kind of doubles as a study, because there are bookshelves lined along the walls, in addition to a ton of different couches and tables to sort of, set down whatever you need. Mostly, probably like bits of food, maybe a cup holster, those kinds of stuff. And there actually are quite a few. There's actually quite a few caretakers around the place dusting. But one that sort of like catches your eye is a tall, tan-furred furbolg with a ridiculously luxurious-looking blonde haircut flowing right down his forehead. Is in the middle of taking advantage of his freakishly tall height to sort of like feather dust some of these shelves. In fact, I actually have a picture for reference that I specifically put in these notes to show you.
Wow.
He looks like that.
Huh.
Huh?
Look in the chat.
Oh. Huh?
Yeah, his hair is just flowing almost straight down in front of his face.
Can we see his eyes through his hair?
Yeah. You can see it just barely from the sides.
Yeah. He's not quite that anime character stereotype where you can't see their eyes through their bangs.
He's not completely Venom from Guilty Gear. And once again, Hyatt just sort of like goes, oh, perfect. Here, come with me. And he sort of just ambushes this furbolg from behind, just hugs him from the waist, and he goes, Rafik, you are overworking yourselves. No, I'm not. Oh, you do not have to lie to me. Besides, we're having dinner soon. You should conserve your strength. It's just feather dusting.
I get the feeling the earth element is often expected towards the type to nurture. Don't ask me why I think that.
I would feel existential if that were true, but no. I am but a lover of people and want to see them be safe and happy.
I was trying to have him whisper that to Trowlin, but it doesn't bother me that he heard that.
Eventually, he does sort of like turn around and bow his head, which he actually almost ends up conking his head in front of Haya in the process, which would kind of be bad because he also has those horns in the picture.
Oh no.
Oh, dude, watch your head. Oh.
It's okay. He's got it. He's got it.
It is nice to have a reminder. Yes. My name is Rafik. I am, technically speaking, the leader of the caretakers here. For all intents and purposes, I am Mr. Hyatt's second in command. But, well, I'm sure my employer has shown you that the rank doesn't exactly matter. He treats everyone pretty much the same.
It's almost as if you are not working for him and rather you are doing this for charity. At least that seems to be the way that he is carrying on about it.
He is quite charitable, yes. Obscenely, even. But a paycheck is a paycheck. Oh, don't talk like that. I know you've enjoyed your accommodations. Well, housing is the housing is pleasurable, yes. You have made it a point to make sure that it has been. He actually explains that the housing near the villa are actually for the employees that work at the hotel. They actually don't live in the hotel proper, they live in their own personal sort of like accommodations.
At least the commute to work is easy.
Work is easy, and also he has also made it a point to lavish up those lavish up those, our accommodations as well. You can't really step a foot an inch anywhere without feeling a comfy carpet on your hooves, or, well, feet in your case. You say that like it's a bad thing, though, Rafik. Oh, no, I'm just commenting on what is the truth.
Seem to. Maybe this is making a mental note.
So, here. Actually, hold on. You go ahead and talk with with Rafik here for a second. I'm actually going to check up on something, and you see him sort of like wander up to this door. You actually don't see him open the door. You actually physically stick his head through the door. And you hear sort of like in a muffled yell, and you hear him go,
Canyon! Ready tonight's dinner! I got visitors from the academy! What? No, they're young and adventurers. They can work off the fat.
Oh.
No, so what if they won't make it to dessert? It just means they'll have the best leftovers of their lives.
I forgot if Earth
love
Element, if Earth Genasi had Earth Glide.
no, they have meld into stone.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have said door. He literally sticks his head in the wall.
So, is that
God.
supposed to tell me that the kitchen is right there? Is he yelling at the chef?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, he is. Well, yelling. He's very enthusiastic about feeding his employees and especially the visitors.
It is endearing. Oh, it is a wonder how he was able to amass such riches when he is so generous.
It's a long story, but you'll have to talk him into explaining himself. He doesn't exactly like to explain that part of himself.
Interesting.
But in the meantime, if you're going to be staying here, you'll probably meet with me quite a bit. In fact, I take it you are the ones that he hired from the academy.
Aye, that'd be correct.
Yes, I rather him talk about the details. He's the one who set the bill. But suffice to say, this job that he's going to have you do, it's been something he's been trying to get done for quite a few years now.
Interesting.
Interesting. Drinks.
Fuck you.
He's done that to me once. Eventually, you actually see Hyatt finally take his head out from the wall. And he goes, "Okay, he'll be ready in 5 minutes."
That is impressive.
He was already finishing up. We don't exactly have much visitors right now, but we still cook regardless because, well, we have plenty of employees to cater to, of course.
It is very good to know.
Yes, essentially speaking, we, in a roundabout way, are kind of paid to cook for ourselves, so to speak. He insists on having these, he insists on having these kinds of feasts almost every night. And if there aren't people in the hotel willing to eat it, then, well, we do.
It is better than letting good food go to waste.
That's how he sees it, but eventually, at some point, some people, well, I get a little bit sick of eating the best we have to offer. sometimes the simpler things become more enticing. But at the end of the day, it is still free food.
If I did not know any better, I would say you disliked your job.
No, I'm just realistic about things. There are plenty of people besides me who are more than willing to share in my employer's enthusiasm, but I have been a servant for quite a while, long before he had control over this villa. I've seen many things happen, so to speak. And while it is very much, and while it very much appears to be too good to be true, even though it isn't, I do feel as though I'm the one that has to, well, put some blinders over him. Make sure he doesn't go too overboard with his charity.
You gotta make sure he doesn't gotta reel him in every once in a while, huh?
He won't be starving for cash, not for a very long time, but, well, he's quite ambitious with his charity, so to speak.
I would think that our brief visit here has already attested to that.
Plenty of people are a bit bewildered when they first meet Mr. Hyatt. But he is as everything as the locals say he is. And more, quite honestly. Eventually, Hyatt sort of like, rather eagerly in fact, actually takes Nimbus by the hand and be like, "Alright, I hear it's ready now, you can come inside."
Whoa, wait! Don't just reach to the wall like that. Slow down.
No, he's not in the wall anymore.
Oh.
He only stuck his head through the wall. Now he's like taking you to the door proper.
Slow down, otherwise we won't even have room for all this dinner that you're preparing.
Oh, nonsense! You haven't even taken a bite yet.
And I'm already worried.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, nonsense.
Fine.
There's nothing wrong with having delicious food. It keeps you alive.
I think there was a comment on that coming inside.
Fine.
Tilted.
What?
Listen. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but that put me on high alert because I could hear the smile on his face.
God. What have we
So,
started?
By the time Hyatt basically drags you guys enthusiastically towards the next room, you can see this long, ornate, 60-foot table with all sorts of various, it's almost kind of like a buffet of, well, there's no buffet there right now, but it's definitely looks like it could be set up for a very spontaneous buffet. You actually see a crew of different tabaxis of different looks, sort of finishing up setting down the utensils. And at the far end of the room, there is a reddish-tanned tabaxi with kind of elongated chin fur dripping down to about neck length. And he's sort of watching all the others and admiring their handiwork, but making sure everything is up to standard. For reference for his beard, if you ever see any, sort of the clerics in a mosque and how they have their beard, he has that. Yeah, but it's all, fur. Oh, what do we have for today, Canyon? And Hyatt sort of just walks over and shakes this tabaxi's hand. You actually see him attempt to give a hug, but Canyon immediately puts his hand on Hyatt's forehead to keep her from getting too close, and he goes, I haven't washed my hands all the way yet. Well, I can't really do it right here, but his accent is, or Canyon's accent is extremely thick. Like, imagine a Middle Eastern version of the Swedish Chef. Like, it's that thick almost. So it's like, I say words, but think you hear in yourself, you hear and stuff like that.
Kind of dipping in between. Would Tabaxi have their own individual language, like Beast Folk or something?
According to D&D, they actually don't have their unique language. So, like, they have common. I don't think Tabaxi is a language.
So I
Makes
guess they're
sense.
just speaking Kashuran. Like, what's Kashuran's native tongue?
Sort of. You assume it's like Kashuranian, but then every now and then you'll hear like a word in common. So as far as you can tell, he's either speaking a native language, or his accent and his dialect is so thick that it's almost incomprehensible.
Pretty sure to even comprehend language isn't gonna help with that.
Would you like to try?
I mean, I don't know the spell.
Oh, yeah.
I think I know that spell. No, I don't. I'm thinking of another paladin devotion. Oath. A paladin oath.
Yeah. I think there is a paladin oath for that. Not sure.
It's not the one I took, that's for sure.
So anyway, whatever the hell he told Hyatt, Hyatt just nods and he motions for everybody to sort of just take a seat at the table. Obviously, I couldn't really put down, all these details, but essentially speaking, just imagine there's, like, chairs everywhere. So, as he sort of, like, sits down, Hyatt just sort of, like, goes, Well, you finally made it here, but enough about me. Please, tell me about yourselves. I know from my old friend Carol that the Academy has all sorts of people. So please, let me know how it's been so far.
Wait, is he asking our trip so
Yes.
far, or is he asking, like, how's our studies at
He's
the
asking
Academy?
you for anything. He is essentially, getting into socialite mode, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
Well, boys, why don't we tell him about the time I was almost killed by one of our own cohorts? That should liven things up a bit.
Dude, why would you want to talk about that though?
Because the
because
battle
Hamid's a bit of a shite.
I'm sorry, did you say Hamid?
Hey,
Oh boy.
Hamid.
As in Hamid Al-Faz, of the son of one of the collective of merchants?
We weren't supposed to say his name yet. We're undercover.
What?
No, you're not.
We're not. Like,
Fuck.
Yeah, Hamid's one of our is one of our
House leaders.
house leaders. Yes, fuck. Hamid's one of our house leaders, and he went on a mission with us one time. He's a little bit of a firebug, if I'm being completely honest.
A firebug, you say?
Hey, I see what you did there.
Let us leave it as one particular encounter. His zeal got the better of him, and it also got the better of me. Suffice it to say, and I'll tell him what happened about how we went invisible and we were fighting this giant rat king with crystals out of his back. And
You
I got
can
caught.
say all that in character. This is essentially the talking at dinner session.
Oh,
Like this is the time to go into full detail.
Yeah, this is essentially like art. This is like super heavy, like socialite RPing.
Well, I got caught in one of his more potent spells, trying to finish off the beast, and
Pretty sure,
I almost died.
pretty sure he did more damage to you than the actual rat.
I'm pretty sure he did, yes.
Oh my goodness, are you okay? How long ago was this?
This was months ago. The burns have almost healed.
Almost? Well, come here, I can make sure they're fully healed.
It's okay, I'm making a joke. You know what? Never mind. Go ahead.
Hamid,
Me.
yeah, Hamid definitely, gets out of his chair for a moment to, he pretty much asks, it's like, so where does it still hurt?
I think it's right here in between my shoulder blades. You should have seen it. I wasn't able to move for days.
Oh, you poor young man, here, and he already neds into your shoulders. You feel, you definitely feel the sort of like same. You definitely feel like the same sort of like lightness and warmth from earlier when he helped you clear out your chest.
Meanwhile, Traylon is just looking at Nimbus across the table with a really.
Don't you give me that look? He offered.
You notice that Hayat isn't cringing, and for a minute he sort of like blinks, and he goes, well, are you sure you're all right?
What? Why wouldn't I be?
It
Well,
has been a couple of months since those injuries have already healed up. I think he's just looking for a rub down is what he's looking for.
oh well, if you just wanted that, you could just ask. And he continues to rub your shoulders.
I don't know what you're talking about. The man offered. I felt as though some of my fur hairs were still crisp.
From
This
months
is
ago.
perfectly possible. From months ago, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Curtis
I'm pretty
is
sure.
just kind
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if your hair is still feeling crisp, the best way to fix that is with Traylon pulls out like a buzz cut or something. Bzzz.
Oh no.
You know what? In this weather, I might actually take you up on that.
Well, we haven't exactly accommodated for that kind of request. That'll be something to go into the idea table for later. And as he says that, a few of Canyon's, crew, so to speak, sort of start bringing out the first dish, the appetizer, so to speak. You actually see about several baskets laid on the table, holding these little bread wedges. At first you look at them and you're not sure if these are like pastries or croissants.
Well, Traylon's not gonna wait for anyone. We'll wait for anyone like one dog waits on another. Gonna take a bite.
So,
Join in.
Put it in your mouth.
Curtis will join in right after he was done, like, giving Nimbus that whole, like, kind of press X to doubt kind of deadpan look. Talking about, like, oh yeah, this is
right.
fine.
So, when you take the bite, it is not what you expected. You're expecting, like flaky bread, or if it was a pastry, something sweet. No, you taste a combination of this melted savory cheeses, most likely something with a little bit of spice into it. And interestingly enough, you actually taste olives that are sliced and mixed inside of these wedges, with a hint of herb to go alongside it.
Is this like naan bread?
No, actually. This isn't something that's, like, super flat. This is actually, You can tell there's yeast into it because it raised, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you are quite surprised at, you weren't expecting something of this kind of taste. And you can actually see Hayat briefly go back to his table, and he already is like, nom 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 nom.
First. I mean, Traylin's into it. He'll keep digging down.
In fact, I have pictures for these later, but I will not show them because it will probably be taking too long. Actually, you know what? This is socialite time. I can multitask.
Search your feelings, Anakin.
I mean,
Yes,
as
yes.
long as
Tell me more about your adventures.
Oh, well, after we finished killing that giant rat, turns out a lot of the other little ones were semi-upgraded. Apparently,
Upgraded.
they still have the gem shards in their back, but now they're connected nicely. They have a bit of a hive mind.
They're almost like bees, except they have the fortitude to cross continents without so much as the wings with which to do so.
Krudesh just casually waves like, and I'm friends with their hive mind. They're cool.
You actually, he actually sort of like blinks and he goes, so they're embedded with gems?
More like it's
Yeah.
growing out of them.
Oh goodness, that sounds awful. You sure they're not in pain?
Seem to
They
have
don't-
taken to it pretty well.
In fact, I still have a gem. I'm pretty sure Traylon still has one of the gems with him. He pulls one out. Yeah, they're magically infused, so it's at the very least they never say that they're in pain.
Hey,
Yeah,
take a look at that.
Traylon will hand over one of these small rat gems.
You actually, when he takes the gem into his hands, he sort of looks at it kind of intently. You actually see the shimmer in his eyes as he's like really concentrating on looking at it. You can actually see his face get a bit closer to the gem, and then all of a sudden you see like a stray elemental spark come out of it, and he just drops and goes, "Oh! Wow. I could sense the elemental energies in this. It's quite wild and unhinged, and yet able to be encased in such a small crystal."
It is something else, isn't it?
Yes, I can't imagine what could start something like this.
Believe it or not, it was just two young ladies.
Yep. Saselo at their finest.
Ah!
They're geniuses, of course, but it's still impressive that it only took two people.
Let me guess. Hermit warders?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard plenty of stories about the shenanigans that some of the more rambunctious hermit warders can get into. I've been there before.
I'm sure
Not
it is
hermit
nothing-
ward proper, but I've been to Cicello.
I'm sure it is nothing that you have not seen before in your worldly travels, Mr. Hayat.
Well, I say that I'm worldly, but I've only ever really been in Kashurin and Cicello. If anything, I get all my worldly knowledge from everyone that visits the villa.
Interesting.
Well, if you ever manage to find one of these rats, you might want to have maybe a forest gnome on your staff. They can actually talk with these things.
Well, maybe not a forest gnome, but I do have some members of my staff that have that latent ability.
I believe druids and rangers would do the job well enough.
Something about that matter, yes, but that is out of my speciality. But enough about the rats. You must tell me about yourselves. I'm sure I can learn more about your adventures just from about you all. Please, you must.
Oh, but I'm not anything special. In fact, it is Trallin here. He puts an arm around Trallin and kind of shakes him a little bit. I would say a lot of our success is due to this fellow right here.
You don't say. Well, by all means. I just realized I never asked any of your names. I am so sorry. Please, introduce yourself, Mr.
Trallin McQuell.
McQuell, yes. Mr. McQuell, please, introduce yourself.
Nimbus on... Oh, never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
McQuell family originates from Radiata. In fact, we were the original creators of magic arrows.
I see. Please, do go on.
Well, to make a long story short, my great-grandma was originally contracted by Farenthel. It was under hush secrecy. Helped them with the war front and whatnot. So, my grandma built up a design of making specialized magic arrows. Unfortunately, we never got credit for what's due because the war never ended. And by the time the secret was already passed out to everyone else, we never got credit. We were never recognized for our work.
Surely there must be some that are still alive that remember that they're elves. You're telling me they never got back to you?
Oh, well... Traylon looks over to Lysander. Hopefully he's not feeling too awkward about the situation. That's the thing. Their king's kind of, not well. Traylon's trying to be polite because it's still Lysander's dad.
Lysander just sort of, shakes his head, but he does not afterwards and goes, well, that's me, but suffice to say, he's not in his right mind. He hasn't been in his right mind for, well, a few hundred years. Oh my goodness. What could have caused such a thing, if you don't mind me asking? No, it's okay. We had a terrible civil war. And, well, my older courtiers have told me about my father long before this all happened, and honestly, the way they talk about him almost kind of reminds me of what I've seen from you so far. He had a big heart, supposedly, and the Civil War took a massive toll on him. He wanted everyone to stop fighting, and I guess over time, the perception of no more fighting warped into something else. He still thinks that the Civil War is still going on. Really? But from what I've seen, there hasn't been any reports of skirmishes or anything like that in hundreds of years. Well, that's because the skirmishes that he sees are staged. They're fake. We take prisoners of war, and he does this with, parentheses fingers. We take prisoners of war, he publicly executes them, to which we stage their deaths, and then afterwards they live on their lives in areas outside of his sight. It is all one act, just to keep one man from learning the truth about what's been going on. You were saying, Nimbus?
It's gone. Go ahead.
Okay.
And basically, anyone who doesn't play along with the act ends up getting the full wrath of the king.
Personally, by him personally, his mind is gone, but his body is still able. He's obscenely powerful. He wields a weapon that can shift forms, and, well, it's almost chimeric. It's grotesque sometimes. I've seen him do things with it that I dare not say how he has killed people with it sometimes. Well then, let's not talk about death, let's talk about life! Well, if I had to make a suggestion, what about your life, Mr. McQuill? And so, where exactly are you from? Are you from Cicello by chance?
Nearby, but no. I live the majority of my life in the
Oh.
shadows of Radiola's mountain region.
Oh, you're near the border.
Aye. Live in a small dwarven settlement. Not too many other gnomes in that area, but it's where my family ended up. Spent most of my time just random tinkering and whatnot, but as much as it's bitter to say, we spent most of our time selling our arrows to the Radiaran army. Not exactly keen on selling to the same people who gave us the raw deal, but they're the only ones who will actually buy from us.
Roll a insight check. $13. You see him sort of grimace a little bit at the mentioning of tithe, so to speak.
Tithe?
You said something. You kind of lagged out a bit.
Sorry, Traylon said that he hates to admit it, but his family basically had to sell arrows to the Radiaran army because they're the only ones who would buy from them.
Well, either way, he does seem to cringe a bit at the mentioning of, you sort of being, sort of like left out to dry. In fact, even with that 13, you get the impression that he believes every single word you've said so far.
That's all the truth.
Yeah.
Regardless, me and my family have been doing the same spiel for a couple of 100 years, ever since our name would run through the mud. Ever since we were claimed as forgers. None of our craft has actually been given credit. That was until Lysander over here came strolling through.
Yes, I didn't believe the story either. You should have seen his face when I told him as such.
Pretty sure I told you to go fuck yourself.
You haven't stopped since, but the intention has changed over time, of course.
Well, don't
But-
worry about Trylon. He tells everybody he likes to go fuck themselves. This is his way of being endearing.
God.
Yes, I've had to learn the hard way, as did a lot of students at the academy, that everyone has their own way of talking. But there have been universal feelings and emotions that transcend culture. And so, at the very least, I can say, despite our regional differences, I do acknowledge Traylon as a friend. And besides, I made a promise to him that when I do kill my father, I will give him the credit that he deserves.
Damn right you better.
I have to wonder, though, all these talks about fathers and having to put them down, but do you feel as though there is a way to, I don't know, take care of him without having to do something? And you actually see Lysander sort of like stop him in mid-sentence and goes, no. He needs to die. He has to die. I understand. And right as he's, the mood is sort of like souring, another dish comes out. The actual main entree itself. Yeah, this time you see the Canyon's Tabaxi chef crew take advantage of the table's ability to be used as sort of like a buffet table. And you see several different platters of beef that you, just from glancing at it, looks like it was cooked until it was just buttery tender. You can see it topped with these traces of saffron and onions even. But interesting to note, you can actually see that it's actually poached with prunes and honey. And when you do sort of start to take a bite, you actually even taste a tiny hint of cinnamon as well. It's still just as savory as your, so to speak, but now there's a bit of sweetness to balance it out.
Nimbus's mouth is watering.
In fact, everyone here, go ahead and actually roll con saves.
The food's been poisoned!
No.
Quick, put it all in my mouth. I'm immune to poison.
That is a good. That's a good point, actually. I sometimes you forget certain aspects of your class done in a while. But yeah, I will also go ahead and roll for Lysander and Lagurma, since while we're at it. Well, Lagurma rolled a natural 20.
Yeah.
Good on her.
Despite her personality, at the end of the day, she is half orc. And the duality of man, a natural 1 for Lysander.
Oh no.
You get the feeling that Lysander may have eaten one too many of the rolls. So, like, the second he even takes a few bites of, this beef platter, you almost sort of see him sort of, like, blink and go, like, oof, already?
We told you to pace yourself, you silly sausage.
I thought I was.
There's enough. He already eats like a bird. Meanwhile, Traylon is already stuffing, like, a second portion in his face.
You're going to have to eat more if you want.
Oh, you're so good.
You're going to have to eat more if you want to do all the things you were talking so mighty about.
Well, roll a persuasion check.
Yeah.
Mm. 14. He sort of grunts for a second to just, like, cough, and he goes, well, I don't want to die eating, but I will try my best to get through this a little. And you see him sort of, like... And despite that, you see him, it takes him 10 minutes before he feels up to eating another bite.
Well, boy, Nimbus, while he's still stuffing his face, just gives Lysander a hard pat on the back.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, Hyatt actually turns his attention to Crudez and he goes, I take it you're from the far north in the wildlands. I can't imagine you've had food like this before.
Not yet, no. Yeah, I'm Kudas. I come from the Stonefisher tribe or clan. Out of character, I
Tribe.
forgot this. Yeah. Stonefisher
Tribe, clan, interchangeable, but mainly tribe.
Yeah.
He actually goes, yes, I've heard about the Wild Legion, but not from any Makaians themselves. What is it like up there? I imagine it has to be almost uninhabitable.
You'd be surprised. Just, he's kind of looking up a little bit, trying to like come up with words in his head, and just he feels like he's on the verge of something that could be potentially like deep and meaningful and sort of philosophical. And it's just like, I don't know. I think it's cool there. It's all beautiful there, I think, but I've been grown up there my whole life, so maybe I'm a little biased.
You must tell me about what your home village was like. Is the Stonefisher title literal? Which, out of character, yes, it is.
Yeah, a little bit, but I always thought it was kind of funny that firstly I take it a bit literal in a different way.
He actually, yeah, you hear him definitely, like, poke your brain, like, well, you must tell me about what your village is like. If you are fishermen, yes?
Yeah, it's just
Hard to get fish here. We have to import it. We
yeah,
can't exactly move the villa to the coast.
Yeah. It's just a humble little fishing village. I sometimes go back in the. Oh, they've got some cool ruins back there, if I remember right.
You see his
Yeah.
eyes sort of, like, light up, and you hear him say, ruins? Well, you must tell me more. Do you know anything about something like this?
Haven't really looked into it yet, but you know, I think I might. I might write a letter to Dad or something, see if he knows anything, because I've always just used it as a place to just kind of chillax, you know, commune with nature, stuff like that. I'm just laughing at the fact that Curtis is really not much for, like, longer, like, conversations.
Right. Well then, you actually, you wouldn't be the first to mention ruins. I just got done funding a certain Dragonborn that would go on and on about ruins.
Oh yeah, Teldra, right? I know that guy. He's cool.
Yes, that was his name. Hold on one second. Does
Alright.
anyone hear a buzzing?
A little bit.
Where's it coming from?
I don't know where from is the problem.
My loins. I mean, what?
I mean,
If your loins are buzzing, Chris, I would be rather concerned.
Yeah. Have you been in a radioactive explosion lately?
Yes.
Oh, it's gone. Whatever happened.
Yeah.
I moved my mic away from my laptop, but it wasn't showing any feed on the.
Yeah, there was
no,
no
it was
feedback.
weird. Yeah, it's
No,
like
it's-
it didn't show up on like Discord as like a green light or anything. It was just kind of there. But
Yeah.
anywho.
But
problem
anyway, Hyatt continues and he goes, well, how did someone like you end up in the academy? I know the Wild Legion is doing their best, but they don't exactly have the infrastructure that everyone else in the world has.
tell him about the gorilla Crudes?
Wait, what?
The gorilla. During the rat fight, the gorilla.
Yeah, but that's not what he asked, though.
Well, he
Yeah,
asked.
that's not what he asked.
He asked. Well, he asked. Okay. He asked how it was possible that Crudes could be able to go to some place big like the academy, right?
Yes, he's
Yeah,
asking how he got there.
How he got
Asking
invited.
How he got scouted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to go for the angle. It's like, well, the whole thing is basically a meritocracy, so Crudes being able to fuck shit up helped him get into the thing.
I mean, yeah, but maybe I should explain that.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's okay. It's fine. I understand. But yeah. So yeah, let's get back on that topic then. Well, I don't know. I've always thought it was kind of weird on the timing of it, honestly. But oh yeah, actually, yeah, Ms. Lagurma, she's right here. She and a couple of her friends were, well, I guess her entourage. I don't know what the word is.
Mhm.
They were over here for a little bit, and so one of her friends, a little Kenku girl, she ran into some trouble in the forest, and I helped her out.
Oh, really? What was ever wrong? And as he says that, Lagurma actually speaks up pretty much for the first time since you've stepped inside the
Yeah.
villa, and he goes, "It was nothing serious.
Yeah.
Crudes helped her, and I owe him a debt for it. That is all."
Well, pretty much what happened. I don't know. I still kind of think back to it a little and kind of wish I could have talked to whatever that was a little. Maybe we could have been friends. Maybe we could have come to some other kind of something. He's
Most unfortunate, yes. There are plenty of people that I wish I could have, well, talked with before things went out of hand, but I understand also that what's done is done.
but yeah, so I helped out her buddy, and she scouted me and my buddy. My buddy came a bit later, though, but yeah.
So that's how that works. I've heard about the academy, but never how exactly everyone gets in. What about you? And he sort of brings his attention over to Nimbus, actually.
Are you sure you want to know? I can tell you for certain that neither my stories are not as interesting as either of my compatriots.
Oh, nonsense! I've been enjoying myself all night!
If you say so. Where are my manners? I am Nimbus on the mountaintop. I am a tabaxi of Pearl, as you have no doubt guessed.
I've heard the accent before.
My family, actually, was responsible for the majority of the worship of my Lady Lyra back in the
Oh.
day.
Lyra? I've never heard of such a goddess, and he says that with a question mark.
Yes, you have that right. My lady is a patron of... how best to word this? I have usually only ever talked about my lady to people who were familiar with her, but suffice it to say, she is a goddess of... she is a goddess of whimsy and of celebration.
How wonderful. How come I don't know anything about it, though?
Suffice it to say, I wish not to dwell on the subject. Apologies, but Let us say that worship of her fell out of style.
Roll an insight for me.
Okay. What's that roll? That's an 8.
And you're just missing it with these
Um,
natural 20s on the other end.
Well, with a natural 20, because I totally forgot to say with advantage.
Okay.
Because you two have been sort of mooching it up the whole night so far. So you've seen him grimace a few times, but you've chalked it up to sort of like him either being empathetic or him trying to suck the pain out of people, so to speak. With that natural 20 though, when you mention, gods falling out of favor, you see his eyes sort of like look to the ground for a brief moment. And when he does look back, you can see for a brief moment, and then it just fades away, the deepest amounts of empathy on him. And he goes, "Oh my goodness, no, that must be horrible. Is it... Who else worships your Lady Lyra?"
Hearing the empathy, Nimbus kind of tries to laugh it off and return to his normally sunny demeanor, but after that he starts to fidget a little bit, like his claws are tapping against the table, and he's looking more at the table's surface rather than anybody there, which is very out of character for him. Besides my family, I'm not entirely sure. I do
my
not think she is
goodness.
a very popular goddess anymore.
Oh my goodness, that's awful. I'm so sorry.
It is not the way of my lady to, it's not the way of my lady to dwell on such things, though your compassion is very much appreciated. But that is besides the point. I was actually an aspiring sailor. I am still very young and have not established a career for myself as yet, but I was working on a cruise ship, a luxury cruise liner that was beset by brigands and blackguards that would want to assail it for its riches. There was some pirate that get his name, he was kind of irrelevant. But after defeating him with the new lady of Perone, Lady Duke, Petal, we barely managed to keep the ship from crashing. She was...
He looks absolutely enthralled by the story.
I don't actually remember why she was there. I think I might have short-term memory loss.
I'll remember all this. She was specifically there because this was like a few months into her, like, just us taking the throne, and she was going to take advantage of all this wealth as much as possible because, yes, why wouldn't she? She's a street rat, and all of a sudden she's filthy rich.
Yes, what that voice in the sky said. So after having the pleasure of having the Duchess of Perone on my ship, and it was subsequently attacked by pirates, probably because she was there, we kicked the ever-loving crap out of them and saved the ship from narrowly crashing into the Peronan gates. And after seeing how I performed, by the grace of my lady's power apparently, no less, I was invited to join the academy, where I am attempting to further my dreams of becoming a warrior worthy of spectacle. And after I graduate, I plan to return there and fight in the Colosseum.
Well, you certainly sound the part, must say.
Oh, mayhap, since this is an adventurer's guild, mayhap I could give you a proper demonstration some other time.
Oh, what? You mean as if we spar or something?
Not necessarily us.
Oh, well, that's good. I am not exactly a fighter. Not anymore, anyway.
You do strike me as a bit more of a lover.
It's what I've tried to been. Yes.
But I digress. That is really say about my origin. I had a fairly normal life. I grew up, I went to school, I have family members. Both of my mother and father are still alive.
You actually see him slightly smile for a second and goes, I'm sure that's wonderful.
No! Insight!
Roll insight.
Don't make me fucking cry right now. That's not what I
17.
need.
You do
17.
sort of see him have the same empathy in his eyes for a brief moment when you mention, it's like, oh yeah, I had a family.
Well, he said he still has his family. I don't know.
Well,
if he's
either
thinking-
way.
Okay.
So, what was it? As he, is busy sort of being like, oh no, I'm so sorry for you or whatever. Suddenly, all of your noses are just assaulted with a sickeningly sweet smell. For those of you who passed the con save earlier, which was 15, which means Lysander rolled a nat 1, so he's beat. You see Hyatt grow a big grin as Canyon's crew comes out again. And you see, it's difficult to describe. You see these oven plates with what you think is pie, and you see members of Canyon's crew sort of start to cut into it. And you notice that there are these slices that they're taking out of these plates are almost several different layers of pastry, basically stitched together purely from the stickiness of honey. In fact, when you see them sort of like cut into it to take slices out to hand to you guys, you can actually hear the squish. It is coated, soaked from head to toe in honey. Ah, yes, my favorite part. Have any of you ever heard of baklava before?
Yes.
Oh, you have.
I think you've just awakened something primal in him.
I mean, Draylon hasn't, but me, Gray, I love baklava.
Yes.
It is amazing.
Yes. For some unknown reason, you just watch as they put slices on a plate for Traylon. You can actually see on the bottom of the slice there's actually a layer of crushed almonds, in addition to like all the copious amounts of honey and sugar. And for some reason, you just see Traylon's eyes sort of like, if he were a Tabaxi, they would be like in attack mode. Like, just like Nimbus said, it's like something awoke in him that's primal bite yet. And when he does bite it, it is like so crunchy and yet so flaky to the bite. It is so satisfying to chomp down on this. And the crunch is just a bit intensified just because of the almonds that are squished into it. And you can actually see Hyatt just sort of like shake his hands And he's like, I needed this pick-me-up. And you see him just, like, absolutely, like, go to town on his baklava. You kind of get the feeling that this is the part that he was looking the most forward to.
I can see why. Gracious.
Lysander, of course, you can see him whimper a little bit because he knows this smells wonderful, but his poor tummy.
God, did I ever tell you guys the story? Well, I'll tell you guys the story later. But I know the feeling. I know the feeling all too well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What? Well, Mr. Nimbus, Mr. Mountaintop, how should I address?
You can just call me Nimbus or Nim. No need for formalities.
Very well then, Nim. If you're for Perone, you have someone quite special from there that I've heard has obtained a high place at the Academy. I believe her name is, Gertrude?
That's a familiar name.
Is it?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
He is one of the main teachers or she is one of the main teachers at the Academy.
Wait. Did you say
Yes.
Gertrude?
Yes.
She was. Oh my god. It's definitely something to meet her in person. That is for sure. She
Yes.
definitely has a very intense aura about her.
Yes, I've heard quite a lot about her, but never from herself. But no, I believe, a particular man named Shuroff works at the Academy. I've done plenty of business with him before. He's never, ever had a moment where he's been in my service and not talked about her.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that, please? I think I missed what we're all laughing at.
Okay. He said that, yes, he's heard plenty about Gertrude, but not from her, but from Shuroff, because Shuroff has done plenty of business with the villa before, and there hasn't been a job yet where he hasn't talked about her in some capacity.
I see.
Has
Yes.
Yeah, there's a funny story. For some reason, this particular sign gets put all over campus as Traylon does the presto on the table to show Shara versus Gertrude 0 to 1.
Yeah. Oh my good.
It's not very nice to kiss and tell.
Oh my goodness, no. I can only imagine the look on his face if someone were to tease him about that sort of thing. Oh my goodness, I can already imagine his hair being on fire right now.
You should have been there for Traylon's first training day then, apparently.
Oh my goodness.
How
Did-
did that go anyway?
He ran me
Yes,
over with his
he's-
horse.
Oh
Dude,
my-
what? That's...
No, that couldn't be him. If anything, he would run you around with his horse, but he would never hurt you.
It seems as though he becomes a very different person when that old wound is opened up. Still
That's-
apparently very sore.
Yes, it's... From what I understand, it was the main reason why he joined the Academy, just so he could have a chance to have his rematch. The poor boy. Ah, the poor boy.
I don't think there is anything poor about him.
Well, nothing. He's just a sore loser.
He
Like-
made, he made sure
Like-
you were also sore, from what I can tell.
Lysander actually speaks up and he goes, "If I may chip in, I've
No.
met with Sheriff with force. I've seen these kinds of tirades that you've talked about, Mr. Hyatt. And, well, he does seem, well, hurt about it, but he won't stop talking about it, and Granted, I am but a young adult. I shouldn't be speaking about such matters. But if I had to guess, I've had a few suitors that, well, wouldn't stop talking about me. Granted, half of them were, well, trained actors, but the other half were legitimate. Hyatt just, with his mouth stuffed with a bite of baklava, he goes, "Are you trying to insinuate that he likes her?"
You don't need to be a paladin of love to figure that out.
You see him with his mouth stuffed. You watch as his hand whacks his own belly as he just like belly aches laughing at this insinuation. He goes, oh, no, no. Oh, no. He loves men.
Oh.
Excuse me?
What?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That man is gay.
Okay, I stand
I-
corrected.
I would know. I'm the one who talked to him when he realized he was.
Oh.
You talked to him, did you? Nimbus takes an incredulous sip from his cup.
Oh, no. We never did anything. We never experimented. I'm just the one that talked him through it and helped him consider it.
Inside.
I tried to, but he didn't.
What?
Oh.
This dinner has been so great.
It really has.
Like,
I love it so much.
was that the most recent insight? 5?
Yes.
You get the impression that Hyatt is telling the truth, even the part where he offered to help experiment, but Shiroff refused. No. If anything, if you... Hyatt almost grows an evil grin and he goes, "Huh, well, since we're on the subject, can you do a little favor for me when you get back to the academy?"
It depends on the favor.
Well, he won't hurt you if you say this. Or at the very least, maybe if you tell them I said it. But, well, I want you to see what happens when you insinuate that he does have a crush on Gertrude.
Oh no.
That sounds delightfully devilish, and I love where your head is at.
Well, I'll do it the first time I see him when I get back. That's the first thing I'm gonna do to him.
Yes, please do.
Meanwhile, Cruda's just sitting at the end of the table, just like, what?
I don't know, Trallen. I think you're already on thin ice with him.
Not like
Oh,
I give a
also,
shite.
if please, since you're apparently well versed in talking about the birds and the bees, can you please educate this one? He keeps calling me weird. I don't get it, and it's starting to get on my nerves.
You want me to explain to him what that is?
Yes.
What?
Well, technically speaking, it wouldn't be my first time, so I might as well.
Dad
I'm going
speak.
to say yes. How am I gonna do this?
No,
I'm
Kudos-
going to.
Kudos knows what this is. He's just being a little shite.
Well, no, Crudes knows what, like,
Procreation is, yes.
Yeah.
He knows where babies come from. He does not know.
He
that
doesn't
can
understand the
sex to have
concept
fun.
of yeah.
So the idea of just like two dudes doing it is like, wait, what?
Wait, that's possible?
Why though?
And you don't have a baby? Wait, how? Why?
Crudes invents
You could see high.
Chris, no, it's not Lobos, and even then, no.
Hyatt is, trying not to bellyache laugh again as he, tries to get ready to explain it. And to do that, I am how do I do this? I'm gonna say he rolls persuasion versus your insight to see if you like understand what he's trying to get across.
God. Okay.
So I will go ahead and roll persuasion, which he is proficient in. 26.
Oh, ho, ho.
And versus your insight.
Low roll. Oh.
Okay. So you see Hyatt, wiping his eyes, which, by the way, you actually notice that when he wipes his eyes, the tears on his fingers actually sort of like flake up into these bronze-colored flakes. And he goes, well, you see, young man. Well, actually, first, do you know what happens when a man and a woman love each other?
If it wasn't for the fact that Lagurma is definitely zoning out right now, I would feel so
Oh,
bad for
jeez.
her.
Oh, jeez. I mean,
You actually, she actually like whispers to you, Nimbus, and he goes, well, this wouldn't be the second time I've been told the birds and the bees. I've been told this story in those exact words before.
Oh, jeez.
I am so sorry, but this is too funny.
At least he's enjoying it. But anyway, as I said, so you do understand what happens when a man and a woman love each other, yes?
Yeah, they get married and have a baby, yeah?
Yes, and you understand what happens to make a baby, yes?
Little bit. Never seen it, but I kind of get what's going on.
Okay, so you're not completely in the dark. So, it is true that you are supposed to do that, and there is nothing wrong with you doing that. But sometimes, and quite a large number of people, decide to share in that kind of love and good feeling without the intention to have a child. In fact, there are some people of the same sex that can do it as well.
Sorry, I just read chat. Jesse just agreed the music. Kind of funny. Oh boy.
I mean, hey, if you want to change the music, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, do you want us to like wait before we continue for that, or?
Well, it's going running right now.
What
I
is this
fucking
now?
love this.
Charlott's gonna look around like, what's the staff doing as this conversation is going on?
Canyon is kind of stone-faced because you get the impression that it takes his job way too seriously. But you can tell some of the staff members. In fact, you can actually see Farek and Nibla from earlier, who he sort of like introduced to you. Nibla is doing her absolute best to not crack up laughing as Haya is trying to explain sex to Crudez. And Farek is doing a much better job of being stone-based, but even he has to smile at this.
But yeah, getting back to what Hyatt said a moment ago, he's just like, wait, what? But if you don't have a baby, then what's the point? And like,
Well, it's purely for the fun of it.
he just kind of narrows his eyes a little, just kind of looks at him like, are you teasing me right now? Just because he does.
No, I am genuinely concerned that you don't understand this.
People do this thing for fun, which is why I make jokes about it more often than I should.
Think about it this way.
His voice gets really small. You probably have to roll like perception to hear him say that last part.
God.
Tranlin will speak up and say, it's kind of the same way, the reason why you get high all the time, Crudez.
That's true. That's a good point.
He like looks like he's about to say something, then stops himself. Like you even just see the finger curl, just like. Ah. He has to think about that for a moment.
You know, Mr. McQuill, that's That's actually a good point. Some people have what they call vices. And vices are just things that are not necessarily appropriate for people to see at all times, but still bring enjoyment out of those who enjoy said vices. Sometimes it's food, sometimes it's what Mr. McQuell said. I'm not exactly a hookah smoker. And sometimes romance. Very often, yes. I'll explain later.
Like, I know, but he doesn't.
I'll explain later. And sometimes men and women, quite often, in fact, make romance and feeling intimate with people a vice. It's actually quite common.
But how do you do that without all the parts, though?
A hole's a hole.
Well, parts are involved.
Wait, so
You actually hear him say, it's like, Mr. McQuill, he doesn't understand that either.
Nimbus is also whispering to Trell, and he's like, I don't know whether I should be laughing right now because of how funny this conversation is, or if I should be upset that this was literally all I needed to say.
So, like, at the insinuation of, like, cramming up the tailpipe, Cruda is just kind of like, his face just kind of like droops in like, almost like disgust for a minute, just like, wait there?
Is he banana cat facing at that? I need to know for science.
I don't know what that meme is. You'll have to link it.
I'll
Is
send
it
you
like
a
when the
picture.
Real Housewives yell at someone and then it's the cat? Is it that face?
It's the other one that's like that. I'll grab a picture.
All right. And he goes, well, I wouldn't use that verbiage for someone such as yourself, but it
Sorry.
kind of goes like that.
Kind of like that, yeah.
I'm imagining he's making the banana cat face, or he's just like.
I
like, what the
looks
fuck?
a bit distressed. He's like, oh crap, oh fuck, what do I do?
So wait, like, and how come y'all complain about like, oh wait, yeah, same rules must apply though. He was about to just haul off and be like, well, how the hell are you all complaining about me being naked everywhere?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're.
Then he just
yeah.
realized. Then he just realized. Oh wait, yeah. That doesn't change.
I'm not sure what you're insinuating, Crudez. Could you please elaborate?
Wait, what? What do you mean?
He's wanting you to say what you just said in character.
Well, I don't know. Just you say people do this for fun, and yet, he just kind of gestures to his loincloth. But wait, I did kind of think about it, and I guess that wouldn't change.
The same standard rules apply. Those people who raised
Yeah.
would not want to see
Yeah,
you running around
Yes,
in your apartment.
perfect, Perfect, Nim. It's just like I said about before. It's a vice. Not everyone wants to see it. In fact, it's something you should only do with people who would want to participate. It's, do you know what the word consent means?
I can't believe this is
Sorry.
happening in session. I'm gonna die.
God. Oh God. It'll this episode Crudez finally learns. We don't
No,
even need
we're
to
talk-
explain it. Just
Everyone was started out as us talking about how Fire Crotch like fucking dick, but no, then it just turned into Crudez getting
Yeah,
sexy.
he thought Curtis understood, and then he realized he's innocent. It's like, oh no, I must protect this baby.
And at the same time,
Yeah. But, long story short, Sharaf,
real quick,
yes.
just interject. I did want to point out that Crudez just eventually just kind of came around to like nodding thoughtfully as Hyatt was explaining that, just like, okay, understanding some of this, still a little weird. Not sure if you're pulling my leg, but all right.
Yes. Long story short, Sharaf is one of those people who prefer their vice to go in a particular direction. And I was there when he found it out for himself.
I.e., he likes men. Probably powerful men, if I had to guess.
Well, and he sort of like whispers to Nimbus and goes, he's not exactly sexual.
Ah, I see. Okay.
In fact, if anything, if I may be so bold, I would go as far as to say, he's gay for his job, not for men.
It causes Nimbus to laugh out loud.
You saying he really likes horses?
Don't stop. You stop right now.
That's not another thing, is it?
No. No. we do not encourage that.
No. He does not.
I had to. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Okay,
No.
Let's bring it back.
Although,
Oh my God.
although I do joke that sometimes that the only woman that he loves is his horse Fatima. Yes.
Crudez gets this mental image of just like what would happen, that cross.
No. Bad,
Fire
bad,
cannot
bad
be
news.
his horse. Yeah.
Flame Centaur.
And then his next thought is, can I replicate that with wild magic? Well, not wild magic, wild shape. but yeah, let's.
Yes. I feel as though if I wasn't having to do this spontaneously, I probably could have explained myself better, but that's generally how it works.
I think I took the gist of it. Probably not for me though, but that's cool.
Understandable, yes. But, yeah. Suffice to say, he'll probably be pretty upset if you insinuate that he likes Gertrude.
You're still going to do it, aren't you?
I absolutely
he looks
am.
over to I pray for your legs.
He'll have to catch me first.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to have a lot of running to do.
Oh no.
I'll be ready for him this time.
You'll have backup.
He's gonna add that to the poster, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Gertrude and Sharov sitting in a tree, where and also Gertrude kicks his ass. So like double whammy.
Gertrude kicks his ass out of the tree. And then over on the other branch is like trailing and Chris with the fucking pipe.
Still not canon.
I know it's
Yeah.
not. I'm still making a joke.
So eventually, amidst the awkwardness, the majority of you, minus Lysander, finish dessert. Lysander looks a bit guilty, but he does, Hyatt does say, well, it's okay. We still have plenty of leftovers for you. In the morning, I highly recommend this will be the first thing you eat in the morning. But it's dessert. Nonsense! This is
Just for
the
breakfast.
best thing we... This is like our specialty here. I I would outright refuse to put you to work if you wouldn't eat a bite.
Lysander, don't sit there and tell me you haven't had something sweet for breakfast before. Am I going to have to come over there?
I have, well, and he sort of stops for a second and says, well, I was going to say I have standards, but I also want to be likable.
What does that
But-
have to do with eating sweets?
Look, I like my figure, okay? And I've been temperate all my life, and I would prefer not to break my diet just because I'm traveling all over the world. Oh, but that's nonsense! This is the perfect time to do it!
I mean, you work it off with all the fighting we do, so
And,
Yeah, that's what I was yelling over to Canyon, actually.
And,
Of course
we
you would
did.
work it off.
We were just having this conversation. There are ways you could get even more sugar and still be working things off. And you see, that, Crudez, is called an innuendo. It is when someone wants to make reference to said vice and wants to be coy about it.
but does a terrible job at that.
He just kind of tilts his head at that, still just like, oh,
What the fuck?
bot. We lost
Oh.
the bot. It's gonna. It's
Even
gonna
the
come back
bot
in
was sick of this shit.
It's gonna come back in the same spot again. You just watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But yeah. In the meantime, Crudis is still just kind of tilting his head in his like press X to doubt face.
I was honestly expecting Crudis to say, like, well, if that's what you're doing, you really suck at it.
Oh god.
Like, just so blunt about it. Well, I don't know about you, but I think I am sufficiently stuffed. And I would hope you all are too. Canyon and his crew try really, really hard to make everyone feel as though they just feel wonderful.
Oh, I think you could be more stuffed. I think you're just not trying hard enough.
Again, with the
Perhaps.
squirt bottle.
Was that another one of those things?
Yes.
I mean, I got that, but Crudis is still
know.
babby.
That's why when Curtis asked, he said yes and wasn't shameful about it at all.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So eventually,
windows, not
as
all that
dessert
bad.
starts to settle down, Hayat takes out of his pocket several different keys, about 5 total, and he goes, "These will be your rooms for the evening. I specifically picked these out as, well, the more comfy ones. I'd rather my adventurers be comforted and pampered before they try to work themselves over." And as he does that, he personally escorts all of you towards the far end at the north, to which you see there are actually no rooms on the first floor. They're all up on the second floor with the staircase. Yes, it seems as though there's about a couple dozen rooms, but that's actually not true. They're actually hallways. Just go in one and just line up your key with the same number as it is, and that will be your room for the evening.
Cool.
All right.
You're very generous.
As you all sort of head on up to your own rooms, Hyatt actually stops you, Nimbus, and he goes, "So, what you were saying earlier about your lady Lyra, I know you're probably at peace with it, but I still have the deepest of regrets for what has happened to you."
I would rather not dwell on it. She would not want me to dwell on it, and there is frankly no way within any of our means to turn back time. We must accept these things and move on, and keep her flame alive, if even just a little bit.
You actually see him sort of like look to the side and goes, ah, yes, time. If only it were that easy. But in this meantime, I still have a little bit to talk with you if you're interested.
Oh, I certainly would not mind, and I'm not saying that to flirt. I appreciate it.
Well, regardless, I am greatly much interested in your lady, and would I don't mean to take you away from I don't mean to take you away from your sleep, but would you mind having this conversation with me in private?
Not at all. I would be happy to tell you.
He gives you a warm smile, and he specifically takes you to this hallway here, which actually doesn't have rooms um, along the sides. It's actually a single hallway to one larger room, which you assume is going to be Hyatt's own personal chambers. And then we're gonna leave that for the following week. As eventually morning comes.
The
Yeah.
music bot will wake
Amazing.
up.
Yeah, if the music bot will get over its food coma.
Amazing. Fucking fantastic. I couldn't even tell something was wrong with the music, but did you hear that? That's my boy.
There we go.
Yay.
Oh wait, there it is. Yeah, that was much better.
I was about to write down the time to edit that in.
Now you can play it twice.
No. God. And before
So-
this becomes another future gray moment.
Morning morning comes. In various different ways, you all are allowed you all basically use the hotel and its faculties to your own suitings. I'll let you decide how you get up, essentially.
What are the beds like?
So, okay. So, you hear from a few of the caretakers as you all wake up asking about the rooms. Because your beds were, like, unbelievably soft. Like, you almost feels like this is a bed for a king. And you go up to some of the caretakers and they're like, and you're asking like, did we just get like the highest quality rooms just because we're working for Hyatt? And they just say, oh no, that's normal.
Whoa.
Oh,
So yeah, these beds are unbelievable.
so this is what it's like. This is what it's like to be level 6 and for you to be appreciated.
Meanwhile, Traylon is not used to super comfy.
Yeah, he throughout the night you feel as though it's like you're sinking into an abyss. And yet it's so comfortable and tempting, but your mind is so conflicted.
I've been in pain my entire life.
Out of character, Kritis is just thinking about these soft beds, just like, perfect time to sleep naked.
True.
So, yeah.
Sensing that people are going to be sleeping in a bit, I would like to, I would like to offer a prayer to Lyra with the
Mhm.
rising of the sun.
All right, what is your prayer?
Should have thought of that. It's going to it will be a prayer of thanks that she has kept him safe, and that he be allowed to fight for her honor, and also that she is helping him protect his friends and the people that he cares about.
Roll a religion.
I'm not good at that. That's a 10.
All right, with a 10. All right, with that flat 10, you've done this prayer many times before, but usually you do this prayer when you wake up in the morning feeling relatively good, which, I mean, those beds you sort of slept in, it's like, how could you not? So, you sort of look out to the window as you do this, praying almost directly to the sun itself, as you praise your Lady Lyra for her protection and watching over
Praise
for
the
not just you, but every single person. Yeah, praise the sun.
praise the sun.
But not just you and your friends, but every single person that you've brought alongside you on your missions. And that includes everybody from the simplest of missions to the stakeouts to Alice, and even the capture the flag game, considering Juju almost killed Tox. You thank her for essentially everything, but most importantly, you basically thank her for coming to the Academy proper. And as you're finished, reciting the verses, so to speak, you see the sun sort of like officially peek out over the horizon. It was already peaking, but you see the first like true rays of light as it's like rising up, sort of like blast you in the eyes, but in a nice, comforting way.
It's watching the sunrise as it burns a hole in your cornea.
Ah, my retinas have been blessed.
But yeah, Hyatt essentially, you see him sort of like wake up too. He's a bit lazy about it, and he goes, "Ugh, you all are free to get yourselves waken up. I'll be ready once I get a cup of coffee. I'll be in my office when you all are ready."
John, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Real quick in private.
Can I say the answer out loud?
Yes.
Don't keep the suspense now. Hee hee.
Hey.
I will say I'll save that for later.
Okay.
But suffice to say, Hyed is encouraging you all to sort of like, get a morning routine in, if you guys have any, so to speak. So if you guys had any sort of like plans, maybe talk among yourselves, you can get that in real quick.
So I guess Traylon will get out of bed, get his gear up, thinking to himself, wait, I'm at a luxury hotel. Leave the crossbows down. And the first time in a long ass time, he's like, oh my god, my back is not killing me.
You almost feel like a cool chill sort of like shoot up your spine from like blood flowing through your back muscles that had for a long time had been like restricted from all the hard work and just the not necessarily heavy load, but like super long and wide load you've had on your back of you carrying your weapons.
like people. Traylon is a gnome.
Feel about this,
Yeah.
but what you do feel is like, yeah,
Traylon is a gnome, and he's basically been carrying like his actual body weight in like ammunition and weapons this entire
Yeah.
campaign.
I have like a +5 strength. I could
You-
carry this stuff for you.
It's my shit, and I need
I'm
all
not
of
going
it.
to steal it. I'm not going to steal it. I'm just trying to give your back a break.
Yeah, but I can't. Look, if you really want to help me, get me like a bag of holding. Like seriously, I have so much shite I need to take care of, and it shows you guys his inventory list of all the scavenged off stuff that he has.
including like dirty, like abandoned janitor mop water.
Tell you what, I
God.
don't have a lot of money after buying that armor, but if I find one, I'll let you know and we'll split for it.
Fine,
Deal. He holds out his hand for a handshake.
handshake.
Alright, I will be right back.
Like legit.
Yes.
Oh,
I
okay.
need to be right back, I'm sorry.
All right. You all sort of like convene at the living area from before, and I kind of find this music appropriate now because in these early morning hours, it is like pretty cozy. There's like a fireplace over near one of the sides because you are in the desert and it does get cold during desert nighttime hours. So as it's warming up, you do kind of feel like the cozy warmth, essentially.
The cool sands are finally starting to warm up as the sun rises.
Yeah. You actually see Lysander officially eat his leftovers, and the second he takes a bite of the baklava, you actually see his eyes go, like, incredibly wide, and just is like, oh my god. This is the greatest thing I've ever tasted. And before he can even say any more, he just, like, downs another bite.
Oh, still not gonna be worrying about the figure, are ya?
Shut up. You see him sort of, like, look to the side bashfully. It's just like, please not now, Traylon. Well, what about you then?
I mean, what exactly is he referring to?
Well, it's like, well, we're here. How have you been doing?
Slept pretty well. I'm not carrying around weapons, so at this point,
I've noticed, actually. You actually... I know you're the same size, but you actually seem shorter now that you're not carrying all that.
it takes up half my body mass whenever I'm not with my weapons.
Yeah, I've noticed. I have to say, it is nice seeing you chill out for a little bit. I always got the impression that, I don't know.
You saying
were
I
just
can't relax? Huh?
Well, if we're putting
Yes.
things bluntly, yes.
I can relax. I can totally relax.
In fact, I'm relaxing so hard right now. You don't understand how relaxed I am.
He's literally like tenser than the rock he's standing on.
Well, I don't know. I just always got the impression that you were either in a foul mood or determined to do something strenuous or both. And I can't imagine just being like that all day, every day.
Eh. You get used to it after, well, the first couple of 100 years.
I'll say. And he sort of like sighs. I can't imagine what my life is going to be like when my father dies. It seems so weird to say, but I'm almost a bit worried.
Yeah, well, that's perfectly natural. You've never had a moment in your life where he wasn't alive, so naturally, having it drastic change like that would result in some sort of uncomfortability.
Yeah, I also never left Farenthel until the academy.
Yeah, you're doing fine so far.
Yes, I'm actually surprised at how well I've been taking it. I've actually been surprised how many students have been taking it well. But it's not just I'm worried about the unknown, I'm also worried about what Farenthel will look like after my dad is gone, because I'll be king, of course, but Farenthel has been so stagnant for hundreds of years. I don't even know if there are even people willing to, well, bend a knee to the crown, so to speak, because they've spent so much of their lives just playing pretend out of fear. Well,
Worried that they don't remember what they are really?
I'm worried that they won't respect the crown after he's gone. And if they don't respect the crown, then there could be a massive power vacuum.
Well, then don't let them respect the crown. Let them respect you.
But he actually seems a bit taken aback by that, but he says, but the crown is what kept Farenthel together. I wouldn't have been the first to wear it.
Monarchs are weird. When you really think about it. I mean, look at the frickin' Radiata. They've got a monarch, and they've basically gone completely kaput. They still exist, and people still revere them, but, well, they worship the church more than the actual crown. People are gonna find someone, anyone, to act as leader. The point is that you make sure that you hold on to their respect. So, like I said, don't let them revere the crown, let them revere you. If you actually do manage to, kill your father, you'll be seen as a hero, an end to this misery and this whole charade. And that in itself should be good enough for a reason. People will then be able to live out their lives.
It seems so obvious, but thank you. Sometimes I worry a little bit whether I'm on the right path or not, whether everything I do will matter in the end. But I guess it's nice to be reminded. And make no mistake, you still will get your credit.
Damn straight I will.
What do you think you're going to do when you do get your credits? I mean, from what I understand, that's the whole reason you're here, was to spread the word, but what do you think you'll do when you do get it?
Well, for one, I'm gonna collect on a lot of overdue late fees. Radiara has specifically been cutting us a raw deal, undervaluing our work for helping provide for their work. I fully intend to make sure that they recognize that, or piss off.
Well, yes, but then what?
And
What
then,
happens when you get your recognition and your payments and everything? Like, what do you think will happen when you get everything you wanted?
well, I suppose after that, I'll get my family out of that shithole. Don't get me wrong, I had fun back in the settlement, but it really was a literal hole in the wall. My family deserves better than living in basically the equivalent of Radioran slums.
You know, I know it's not true, but officially speaking at the Academy, you're represented as Farenthel. I know you haven't seen Farenthel yet, but, well, the elves have been using your work the most. Maybe it's right that you just move there after all this is over.
I was thinking about that.
You could even demand reparations.
There's a thought.
Well, I'll figure out what to do when we get there.
But regardless, whether it really be the situation, my main priority would probably be fixing up a lot of shite that's been left undone. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still want to get my family out of there, but I'm not just gonna leave it out to hang out to dry. They're still, whether I'm not a dwarf, but those wolves are still part of the family.
Seems silly to say, but you're sounding like a Hyatt right now.
Alright, now, let's not get hasty.
Right, of course.
It is not as though he is eager to help men exploring their sexualities or anything like that.
But
Speaking
no,
of, I noticed that you didn't go to your room, Nimbus.
Oh, yes? If you're just going to sling another insult, then perhaps I won't tell you.
I'm just saying. Do we need to slow down today?
It's cute that you think I'd be the one that was sore.
I don't know, I've seen you on your back plenty of times.
And I you.
No, you haven't.
Especially
lie.
since I have had to carry it. Yes, I have. Don't you start.
No, you've not carried me, you've acted as a mount. There's a difference.
Mom, Dad, let's not fight, please.
Maybe the next time you do, I can throw you off with your puny muscles that you use to craft things for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really?
Trailin's going
So
to
as so as Mom and Dad argue, eventually noon comes and the group, all of you finally head over to Hyatt's office proper. It seems as spacious almost as it almost seems as spacious as the living room itself, but you can tell there's like other sort of like tables off to their own that actually handle the Adventurer Guild part of the whole operation. But Hyatt seems to have his own office, so to speak, that's separate from everyone else's. And eventually you do see him. He is still sort of like wearing that open vest outfit as before. And he goes, "Ah, yes, welcome. I take it you all had a good night?"
Yeah.
Good.
I did.
Good. That was the first thing I wanted to make sure that happened. So, I did bring you here for a reason, and admittedly, I've been trying to put it off. I don't know I've probably not done a good job of hiding bits of my sadness, but I guess I do owe you an explanation. So, a few years ago, this villa was not a villa. It was a fort. And the fort was for an infamous mercenary war band. It was led by my father. His name was Samir, and he was the right hand of one of the members of the Collective of Merchants. But, well, Kashirinians just call it the Collective for short. Well, I never knew who my father served under, but while he was under his command, he committed all sorts of atrocities. Vile, terrible atrocities. But at the time, I didn't know and I didn't care because I was just the pampered only son that just got to live in the luxury. Sure, I had to learn how to fight a little bit, but I just got to live in luxury. But eventually, I found there used to be a water genasi tribe that lived nearby in Elzara. They were ruled over by a Marid. And, well, my father was ordered to drive them out after the person he worked under tried to negotiate with them, because the caves that they lived in had these fluorescent minerals that could fetch quite a high price if they were crafted in certain. And when they refused, my father sucked the warband on them. They stormed the caves, they killed the Marid, and killed most of the Genasi themselves until they ran away.
Uh-oh.
I was tempted to tell my father what he was doing was wrong, but I didn't want to say anything, because I was afraid I'd lose the luxury I had. But then, several years later, I finally stood up to him. And then, when that happened, something happened. Nim, you've had something like this happen to you before, I'm sure, but you know how we awake to our powers.
Actually, no. I was hoping I would learn about that at some point, but still nothing.
Oh, well, in my case, I kind of got mine spontaneously. I get mine from Jauhar, the goddess of wealth, one of the old gods of Kashirin. Which remind me, I'm going to be writing another giant lore bit for Kashirin next.
Nice.
I felt powerful in that moment, but, well, also foolish. Right then and there, I challenged my father for control of the warband, and I was defeated, handily, and he nearly killed me, but I somehow managed to escape. And so I ran, and eventually I fled out of Kashirman, the first boat I could get. It just so happened to take me to Cicello. It's where I met your headmaster, actually. He used to work at one of the top universities in Cicello. So, I lived there for 2 years. I tried to hone my powers there, learn as much about Jahar and the nature of my own powers, and I used what wealth I had left on me. I basically had to sell every piece of jewelry on me and start over. But I used that money to make as many allies and connections as possible so I could raise my own warband, and so that one day I could go back to Kashirin and finish the job, so to speak. And so I came back, and I succeeded. I challenged my father to a rematch, and this time I won. I took over the warband, but I was not able to spare my father. He insisted that I finish the job. I did my best to try to settle things peacefully, but he wouldn't let it happen. So, I became the leader of this warband. 2 warbands. And the first thing I did was, well, dissolve both of them. Anyone that still wanted to be a mercenary was free to go, but those who wanted to stay could assist in the rebuilding project, essentially converting the fort into the villa. Farik used to be a member of my father's warband. He's one of the few people that stayed and did not become a mercenary again. He was loyal to the family, so to speak. And ever since that day, I've swore an oath of pacifism. I've made it a point to declare that my father's blood would have been the only one that I would spill in my life. That's what the glass displays are for. They were my old weapons and armor that I used. So, that's why I'm so rich. It's because I basically stole all my father's wealth and turned it into all this.
I'm sorry for your loss. That must have been a lot.
It was, but that's not where we end here. So, I told you about that water genasi population, right?
Yes.
Well, the cave is still there. One of the first things I wanted to do after I took over the warband and dissolved it was I wanted to use my father's wealth to gather up the old water genasi and relocate them back to this cave, bring them back to their homes. Well, we tried, and we can't, because we were clearing out monsters in the cave. We figured there had to have been. I basically bought the deed to the mining operation with my father's money, but when I looked over the management documents, I found that the mine had been abandoned because somehow a Hydra got in and made it its lair.
I see.
I have been trying to get rid of this Hydra for 2 years now, and I can't because, well, 3 reasons. 1, I am a pacifist. I cannot let myself be the one to spill its blood. I won't let myself spill anyone's blood. 2, the adventurers that I try to hire through the guild part of my operations, they chicken out when they realize what they're dealing with. And
Understandable.
Yes. And 3, even the ones that do accept knowing what they're in for, it's impossible to track down this Hydra. because it's constantly shifting. There's so many water tunnels for it to go through that tracking it down is hard. So eventually, I decided to give up and pitch in for the academy. I
See.
tried to go as long as I could without contacting the academy because I know my old friend Carol is, well, he has his own business to attend to. I can't imagine the amount of paperwork he has to do compared to me.
Well, we are here, so clearly that cannot be the case.
Yes. So, that is what I brought you in for. Hydra hunting.
Never shot a Hydra before. Can I roll
Sounds like-
Arcana to know what exactly we're getting into? Because I'm pretty sure this is not nature-based. They're
I'll
monstrosities.
say you can pick either Arcana or Nature.
Natural one!
Natural. Holy shit. Well, you never shot a Hydra before. You've only heard about Hydras in stories. The only thing you know about Hydras is that they're an aquatic creature, and they're really big, and that's it. Curtis, with that 22 in nature, you know that Hydras are multi-headed. You know that they are... You know that they are quite large, and the actual, like, scope of the Hydras themselves are pretty big. So to have one, you know, basically live in this cave system probably suggests that the caves eventually, like, had access to the ocean somehow. So the best you can assume is the Hydra probably snuck in during, you know, the times when the caves were basically used for, you know, a mine.
So when the tides were in, it kind of swam in, and now it's just basically stuck in there.
It basically found the hole where the Hydra would probably, or where the Marid that used to rule over them would probably go in, and made its way through, and it's made the cave its den, so to speak.
Interesting.
I regret having to hire you all, of all people, especially men and women your age. I would hate to see you all get hurt, but I can't redeem my father's atrocities until I get this Hydra out of here.
Oh, there is a reason Headmaster Carol sent us of all people. Why don't you lie back and let our skill speak for itself?
Also, have we not handed him over the scroll yet?
Oh, yeah, we should do that.
Lysander actually speaks to him and goes, "Ah, yes, actually, I knew I was forgetting something about that." And you see Hayat sort of, like, look towards you all. It's like, you have the letter, yes?
Yes. Traylon
Yeah.
will hand over one... What did I write down? Letter to Hayat. And...
All right, one letter from Hayat from your inventory. the first remove of this meme.
Yes.
And Lysander explains, "Yes, before we came out here, the headmaster actually gave us this letter to... They actually gave us this letter to hand to you. I only heard about it from my friends here, but essentially, it's an invitation for collaboration." Oh, Carol wants to work together with me? Oh, I didn't think he would have the time, but this sounds wonderful. I'll read it as soon as you guys are off.
Very well.
I think it would be worth it. Seeing old friends, reopening old bonds. Maybe some other things that are old.
He is an old friend, yes.
Yes.
That was bad.
You don't even know what I said.
Maybe not, but it sounded like it.
Is this one of those innuendos you keep talking about?
I tell you, no respect for a romantic in this party at all.
So as he takes the letter and sits it on his table and he goes, well, that's the gist of the job. You'll have to talk with Farik. He has been doing his own personal research into the Hydra's patterns. He might be able to assist you with tracking it down and killing it.
Was he able to
Unlike-
research?
Hmm?
Never mind. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, unlike me, he has no qualms spilling blood.
And I was gonna make a dumb joke, so let's move on.
Yeah. So, with that, Hyatt has given you your job. You are going to be going to an old cave to hunt out a Hydra, and somehow Farik is going to be helping you with that. How will he? We'll find out next episode.
We can't really tell if he isn't Nerik yet.
Boo.
So, what'd y'all think?
This was fun.
I loved
Yes.
that. I'm so glad I asked. I'm so glad we had dinner with Hayat. I love him.
Thank you. I worked really hard,
I'm gonna get shut off so much shit later.
and I will follow up with you later.
Huh? What?
And I will follow up with you later, Chris.
Okay.
So yeah, that was tonight's session. Gray, I apologize if my first ever attempt at food porn wasn't good, but I figure you've done it with me and the rest of the Lobos cast so much that I might as well,
No,
you
did
know.
good.
Alright.
I feel
Yay.
I actually really
I
want to
feel
get
like his-
downstairs and get something sweet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think his reaction with the baklava was telling enough. You made me hungry, now I have to go and get something else, you monster.
Sorry. I figure, you know, it's like, this is so appropriate to put this in here. I have to do it. So, yeah. So yeah, next week, or actually don't know how long, but either way, next episode, we are going to be tracking down a Hydra. And who knows, you'll probably finally meet your academy contact that will keep in touch with you.
Watch it be Juju.
Little shadow.
All right. That's it for it tonight, guys. You all have a wonderful morning, evening, or afternoon when you watch this VOD, and I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe, and you all have a good day.
Yes. And happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month.
Yeah. Krita's
Don't-
learning about gay sex on Pride Month. I fucking love it.
Don't forget to love yourself, and if you're not ready to come out of the closet yet, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll only
The
nudge.
socks will be your friends.
Make friends with the hangers.
And the other people inside the closet, because you're not alone.
It's really cramped.
Someone come out already.
Right.
Alright.
All right.
Bye,
Later,
YouTube.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.